My name is Richard Fields. I currently reside in New York City, specifically in Glendale, Queens, and I born and raised in Miami, Florida.
Can you tell us something about your journey into the arts? How did you get started?
I was 12 years old in middle school, and they placed me in a band class in a public school, and I really did not want to be a part of it. I had no interest because I was kind of just into athletics, and they wouldn't remove me from the class after I begged, so I stayed in the class. I chose an instrument, didn't really know what I was choosing. It just, I saw the trumpet, it looked easier because it just had 3 buttons. So I started, I was with that instrument, and then I remember in 7th grade, I just kind of did what I had to do, and I didn't particularly enjoy it, I didn't hate it. And then after 7th grade, I thought it was it. And then in my middle school, my 8th grade year, they placed me in advanced band. And I was a little shocked by this because I didn't find myself to be very advanced. So I was really bad. And so bad to the point whenever I would play, my friends would laugh. And I just remember thinking to myself, I can't be this bad at this trumpet thing. So I started taking the instrument home. I think it had Scotch tape on it, very old instrument, and I just started practicing every day, little bit by little bit, and just continue to try to refine myself and my skills. And then my 8th grade year, I was one of the worst trumpet players in my school. And then in a matter of about 3 months, after some practice, it's a little consistent practice every day, I was 2nd chair in the school. And then a few months after that, I was 6th chair in the county of Miami-Dade. And then in about 2 years after that, I found myself, I was 2nd chair in the state of Florida, trumpet. And that same year, I played as a soloist with my jazz band at it's David Geffen Hall now, but it was A.B. Fisher Hall. I was a soloist with my jazz band at performing arts school that I attended, and I started playing professionally when I was 16. I got my first church gig, and it was kind of like, wow, this is cool. I like this. So I just continued, and I just started getting more work very young. Getting paid to play an instrument, and I was a soloist with my high school band, playing a very virtuosic solo. And I was 16, being 16 years old. That's when I decided, I think I should do this. This is cool. I mean, I was really good at it compared to everything else. I think that's kind of how I got my start in the performing arts.
So people say, oh, you had music in your family, or you grew up, you always wanted to know. You kind of was forced into it, made good with it, and then excelled in it through diligence and just hard work.
Yeah. And also I remember when I was 13, I went to the public library and I took out everything I could that had a trumpet on it. Books, I got a few recordings. I got very creative. I had a little tape recorder. I would play duets. I would record one part and then play along with the other part. I was just super fascinated by it. And I didn't receive formal instruction. So I got to 2nd chair in the state of Florida with no formal instruction. I had, when I went to New Road School of the Arts, I had a couple lessons. I started taking some lessons, but everything I had gotten to that point was just everything I kind of had learned in school. And my band teacher, and he didn't have a lot of time to spend with us because he had a lot of students, so I didn't have any private instruction.
How did your introduction and immersion, almost like a self-immersion in the arts, help to transform your life or set your trajectory for life?
Oh my God. So, if I didn't have the arts and I didn't get involved in it, I would not have the life at all that I have. Not even close. Because when I was in high school, I wasn't. So my parents, they weren't very. They weren't really on me about doing homework, or they weren't concerned with my academic, progression. They were just like, okay, he's staying out of trouble. We'll leave him alone. So because of that, I didn't really have anyone pushing me academically. And the only thing I seemed to be kind of good at was playing the trumpet. So I saw kind of my friends at school that I went to. I saw my friends wanting to go to school for music, and I wanted to go to school for music. And also around that time, when I was 17, 18, I started playing some pretty high profile gigs in Miami. I started playing with the Miami Symphony, the Broward County Orchestra. I went on tour to Mexico with an orchestra. And then from that, I was awarded a full scholarship to study trumpet at SUNY Purchase. John Faddis, he's a pretty famous trumpet player and artist. He recruited me to go to SUNY Purchase, where I studied with Graham Ashton and Lee Soper and Rich Clymer. And from that, because I had music, I went to college. I don't think I would have even gone to college if I didn't have music. And music paid for my college, and it gave me a reason to, go through college and finish. It was my carrot. So, and then just because I had trumpet, I started developing more academically, and I started taking classes. I started becoming intrigued academically, and I started reading more, and just trying to excel and become more well-rounded. Not just I'm just a trumpet player. And then from that, I took a little time off. Then I went back and I got my master's degree. And I've been able to have a lot of performances. I remember I performed in front of an audience in Vail, Colorado, of 3,500 people, and that was scary. And then I performed in front of a crowd of 17,000 in San Antonio at an event, kind of just and then just kind of doing different tours around the country and internationally. I would not have had those experiences if I wasn't a musician.
Speak about some of the early challenges toward a career, some of the challenges of maintaining that career, and tell us your life now.
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge that I faced was just, and I think a lot of people fall in this, but kind of financial, foundation and financial stability, because I grew up with my parents having very little money just very little money. And I remember my father, saying that he was gonna try to buy me a trumpet, and I was getting really into it, and he made this promise, and then he just couldn't afford it, and I just remember just being crushed because I couldn't get a proper working instrument, because the instruments at my school were broken down. They kind of had, they had Scotch tape on. I mean, they were just really old, like 40-year-old, 30-year-old instruments, and I wanted a proper instrument. Even when I went and I played in All-State, when I made second chair in the state, someone lent me their instrument. So when I went to participate in that festival, that I wouldn't be the only one in the group with a messed up instrument. So someone loaned me their instrument, and then it was really tough. And then when I was 16, around in the summertime, I found out that my father, he went missing. We didn't really know where he was, and we were getting very concerned. And about a month after that, my music teacher, he found me and kind of, he broke the news to me that my father had passed away, and I didn't believe it. It was kind of surreal. I couldn't imagine that, so that happened, and then from there, my mom, she's an immigrant, she's from Jamaica, she was trying her best. She wasn't as stable herself. So then I found myself going into my junior year of high school, kind of bouncing around to different places that I lived. And then, but I was able to manage, and then the instability, I feel like it definitely made things a little more difficult, but just kind of went through, survived. And then my senior year, I remember, kind of no parental guidance. I was just living on my sister's couch, and I just through sheer will and force and determination, I got through high school, and I applied to the colleges. I had some great teachers to kind of help me along the way and guide me. But that was super challenging, and even just acquiring the instruments that I needed. So then after that, I took a year off, and then I went to SUNY Purchase, and during my time at SUNY Purchase, I was able to get better and practice, and I had great teachers, and still very difficult financially, and but one thing I remember, that it was very, very tough. I remember every semester I would get a letter saying, if you don't pay the school fees in time, you're gonna get taken out of housing, and you're gonna be taken out of your classes, and so every year I'll just have this freak out moment, and then finally financial aid would just come through, and I'd be secure again. And then throughout college as well, I had places where I could live, but I didn't really have a place. I kind of was just I would stay with my sister, I would stay with friends on my school breaks, and I didn't really have a stable home situation. I didn't really have somewhere to keep my stuff, just kind of going to where, you know, the best place was at the time, and that definitely was not easy. And then a year after I graduated from college, you know, playing was going well. I was getting a lot of really cool opportunities, playing with a lot of cool people and great groups. And I started noticing a little wiggle in my teeth. I was starting to get scared, and I was thinking, okay, that's not good. I just kind of had these nightmares that I would be playing trumpet and my teeth would just kind of, you know, fall out of my mouth or whatever. So I went to the dentist, and they diagnosed me with something called juvenile periodontitis. It's a genetic degenerative gum disease that really eats away at the teeth and the structure of the teeth. And I had to have my bottom teeth down here all extracted, and you know, it wasn't cheap, but I had them extracted, and they put in implants, and then I put in what's called a flipper, so you put it in and out. But again, you know, everything just kind of comes back to this financial stability, and you know, so I didn't have enough money to finish the surgery, so I ended up just playing on that flipper.
What's the importance of the teeth for the instrument?
Right. So this is your whole structure, and I'll give it this analogy. It's almost like if you think about an Olympic track runner. You know, you have 8 Olympic track runners, and you know, your foundation. Let's say that foundation is your ankle. Everybody who's healthy has healthy, you know, feet, ankle, calves, thighs. It's almost like your ankle being turned out, and you're still trying to compete with everybody. Your ankle is completely messed up, and you're trying to compete with the same intensity and the same level of excellence. So now that's pretty much what happened. So it was almost like I was playing with a messed up ankle. So basically I will put the flipper, that's what it's called, in my mouth here, and it was like bigger, so it kind of like made the formation of my embouchure, it made the hole here bigger. So then what happened over time, and it wasn't right away, what happened over time, it started to degenerate the muscles that create the sound. So then what I was finding was that I just could not compete in the Olympics with trumpet. I just could not compete, and it was very discouraging. I thought about quitting multiple times, but I was still getting called for gigs. I still was getting work because I was able to mask it so well that people could not tell that I had any type of disability. But I knew that I had it, and I knew my limitations, and I knew what I could not and could do. And then I think after a while, I just kind of gave up hope, and I said, you know what? I think I'm just going to become a music educator and play trumpet on the side. I love it. I love playing it, but I could. It just got so tiresome competing with this disability. I couldn't do it. It was too discouraging, too difficult. but I loved the instrument so much I kept playing, and I just, and I would still do the performances that I got called for.
You used the word disability. Can you speak about how that disability, based on the conversation the other day, has kind of transformed your ability?
Yeah, so what I had to do, because I had this disability with my playing, I had to really put my trumpet playing under a microscope, and I had to really say, if I want to get better, what do I have to do in order to rehabilitate my muscles, my embouchure? So I started experimenting with different methods. I started experimenting with different routines. I was putting together different routines. And what I found was there was kind of a way, not to completely take the disability away, but there was a way to perform at your best with a disability if you had the right program in place, and it also helped me to see that, okay, you can overcome a lot if you're just disciplined, hardworking, and you continue. You just don't give up. But you had to have the right plan in place in order to get the best results, the optimal results. So what ended up happening, I went back because at this point I had become a music educator, and financially things were a little bit more stable. So I decided to make the investment to finish the surgery, take the flipper out, and put in proper crowns. And I didn't know what that was going to do to my trumpet playing. I didn't know how that was going to affect my trumpet playing. I was hoping that I could be restored back to what I had when I was at my peak. So I got the surgery, and they said don't play on it, give it some time to rest because the gums. I just couldn't wait. I think I waited one day and then I played because I it had been over 8 years since I had experienced what it was like to play trumpet in a normal way. And the first notes I was trying to do some exercises. I was like, okay, I can see this working. I can see this happening. I can see myself being able to perform at the level that I have been dreaming of on the instrument. But now I had kind of made this whole journey to the other side where I had become an educator. I was no longer just a performer. So now I was trying to balance that in my mind, because it's like, well, I said I was going to be an educator, but after a couple months, after that surgery, I was asked to be a soloist with an orchestra and play a trumpet solo, and I accepted. I was very hesitant, but I accepted, and I found that I was just able to do a lot of stuff, a lot of things that I couldn't do before. It was a very difficult solo, and I was just able to play it, and played it twice. I played it in Cleveland, and then I played it in New York, and I was able to play it great, play at a very high level both times. And that was a few months after, and what I started noticing as I kept practicing, I started noticing a shine, a shimmer to the sound, like a beauty a resonance. And I had the thought. I said, okay, what am I gonna do now? Because I'm making a world-class sound, but I teach in Brooklyn. So what I decided to, because I found that education really had opened up my eyes, being involved in that world, opened my eyes up to a lot of different needs. And I decided that I want to do both. I decided I want to be an educator, and I decided that I want to be, on the path to being the best trumpet player that I can be. I believe that is a world-class instrumentalist. So that's kind of where my journey has me at this point.
In 60 seconds or less, what would be your message to some young person who's dealing with whatever their life situation is? Maybe they've never even picked up an instrument before, but certain arts opportunities might be available to them. What would you say to them as a witness for transformation? What would be your message to them?
I would say, if you can be open to possibilities, if you can be open to trying something that you never tried before, something that you may have thought that, I could try that. That seems like it would be fun. Don't think about what your friends would say if they saw you doing it. Don't think about people that will be hating. Just think about the possibilities. Think about, if I didn't have this experience, your life would not be as rich because of it. I would say just be open. And then when you get the opportunity, don't let it pass you by, because life is too short. You get one life, you don't get another one. You're entrusted with one life. You have to make the most of this one life and really, dig deep, dig into places you never even thought you had before, to realize your potential, not anybody else's, your potential. And I believe that everybody is gifted in their own right. Everybody's not gifted in the same way. We're different, we're all made very uniquely, especially with a great design, a great designer. So really optimize your time here, and don't get caught up in things that are wasting your time.
I thank you, sir.